Hey everybody, Krystal Gamer here with a new video for you. This one here is for my, what is it called? I can't even think of what it's called. My Make Me Want to Buy Movie Hangout Stuff in One Tweet Challenge. That's it. I couldn't think of movie hangout stuff. I knew we had a challenge going. I just couldn't remember which pack it was for. But so we're doing the movie hangout pack this time, and this is inspired by that challenge, but it's definitely not for that challenge. It uses a few other packs. I wanted the flexibility on this particular build, and I love the movie hangout stuff pack. It's a really cool pack, but to me there wasn't quite enough in there to do as much as I wanted to do for this build. So I was looking to make a whole theater is what I was looking to do. So that's what we end up with here. And one of the big elements on this, my initial thought in my head was the roof. That's where it came to be in my head, was the roof. And I wanted basically an avant-garde type theater. And so this theater was built in the early 1900s, before movies hit the scene and all of that stuff. So it was actually a stage theater way back in the day. And they used to do sort of like burlesque type performances and everything. And it was just a small kind of community type stage theater. It wasn't anything huge or anything like that. But back in the late 1920s, they had a fire backstage. And so the backstage was completely wiped out. And the theater was shut down. It was too small to keep going and all of that. So it was shut down, and it was shut down for a number of years until finally someone bought it back in the 1960s, and they decided to do a refurbish on it. And what they did was they made it into a small movie house, and it's kind of, it's just a small little community movie house. It can only show one picture at a time, but it's a quaint little place, and they offer free popcorn, and they have a little area out back where they have a hot dog hamburger stand and all that, and they have kind of like a romantic dining area out behind the movie theater, and that's for when they do double features on the weekends. They have an intermission between the double features, and so people can go and hang out behind the movie theater and get some hot dogs and hamburgers and stuff like that, and just relax back there. They do have a cafe inside the movie theater as well, but it's not as robust, and it can't handle the full crowd, so they have the back as well for the double feature times. And there's another thing that once we get further along into the build that you may notice is there's kind of like an open space that goes on the left-hand side next to the theater on the left. And so that's an open space. And so years ago, that was the behind the scenes to get from the backstage area to the front of the theater. So it was a back pathway, and they've left that back pathway for electrical stuff and all of that stuff now, but it's not used for the same reason anymore. And basically the area that burnt, the backstage area that burnt up, that no longer exists at all anymore. It's the back patio area where folks can eat and hang out and all of that stuff. And so it's got the feeling of an old movie theater, especially out front. It's got the feeling of an old movie theater with the ticket booths and all of that. But in reality, the two ticket booths, it's 4 windows on either side, but sort of like 2 ticket booths. They're not entirely ticket booths. One side, it ends up being the cafe and the kitchen area. One side's the cafe and kitchen area, and the other side, it has 4 windows, but it actually only has 2 ticket registers with the way it's set up. So yeah, pretty happy about this build. I wanted to do something kind of, I don't know, a little bit more, I don't know. I did a movie hangout build before a while back that was almost exclusively movie hangout. It was a little house, and it was okay, but I really wanted to do kind of a theater this time. The only disadvantage, there are actually a couple of disadvantages, if I'm being honest. I love the build, but I don't love the way the game works in a few respects. And one of them is, when you guys see the furnish, I do the furnish at the end, and I do the undo redo method to save us time. But when you guys see the furnish at the end, you're going to notice that I did a step down in the theater to sort of create a little bit more realism. I tried for that. So I have a step down area in the theater. And so the television, which is the movie screen, right, is actually set up a little bit higher. And I use the movie hangout stuff, television screen, but in all actuality, if I wasn't doing this for movie hangout stuff, I might use the other television screen that is just kind of wide. You guys will see I use the movie hangout stuff that has the speakers and stuff on the side. I'm not sure I would have chosen that if it weren't for this being inspired by the challenge, but nonetheless, I have it lifted up, and it's great visually, like for the theater and having the step down in the theater and everything. The whole thing is fabulous visually, but because of the game works, the way the game works, you guys probably know, especially the builders will know, that the step down area is recognized by the game as a separate room, which means that the Sims won't actually sit in the audience area and watch the television. Like, they won't actually sit there and watch movies. And it's just because of the way the game is designed and the way they have the game objects set up so that when you have a sunken area, it treats it as a separate room, unfortunately. So I wish there was some way that we could change that somehow. But nonetheless, hey, we work with what we have, and what we have is really good. So we can't complain about what we have. It's just I'm greedy and always want more, because that's just, how it is. I think most of us are greedy and want more all the time, right? So they have a little area. I created this so that it's even on the property. The theater is even on the property, and there's shrubbery that goes down on both sides and a pathway that goes down on both sides of the property. And you pass at the end, you'll see they're not up yet, but at the end there's a bunch of movie theater posters on the side. And so you pass all the posters when you're going down. Not only do you pass all the posters on the side, but the other thing that I want to point out, there's actually a few elements that I want to point out. And one of them is the wall texture I chose. I was looking for something that looked like a film reel. And the other thing was the frise that I chose, which is very thick for this, but it is very high wall. So I was allowed to use one of the thick ones. And that one, I chose the one that most resembled a film reel. There were none of them that really resembled a film reel, but it's the one that most gives me that feel. And then also the trim on the outside of the roofing pieces at the end becomes the white trim with the lines, and that also looks like a film reel. So I'm trying to carry that theme throughout several segments too. So yeah. So basically I have that, the idea in my head is that the people that came and refurbished this, they kept a lot of the original theater. They obviously could not keep the back end of it that burned down, so that the whole backstage portion went away, but they still kept the majority of the theater that was intact, and they just refurbished it, including the front area with the ticket booths. So yeah. Hopefully you guys like this one. I enjoyed doing this one, and it's not a huge build this time, but I don't know, it's a fun build, and it's kind of like, it's an eclectic little theater. Like, in my imagination, the people that own this, they're kind of, they might be maybe a little bit hippie-ish, I guess, might be the type that I think might own a place like this. So it's a little eclectic. It's a little, I don't know, boho or something on the inside. Maybe that's the term. So yeah, something a little bit different. Something out of the ordinary from what I usually do. And the main thing was the roof, and the roof changed. I can't even tell you. Oh my God. I made so many changes on the roof. I did not include it all on the video because we would have been here all day. But the roof, I changed the roof a gazillion times. It was just insane how many times I changed it. My initial basic idea of kind of like having fins coming out on the side, that ended up staying, but I ended up with peaks, which I tried peaks, got rid of peaks, added peaks, lower peaks, higher peaks. It was insane how many different things I tried. But I do that with a lot of my builds. I don't know if other builders do that as much as I do, but I try a lot of stuff. I try and discard a lot of stuff. And so that most of the stuff that I try and do away with, that doesn't even make it to video, because why? You know what I mean? We'd just be here all day. We'd be here too long. You get some of this. I had some sort of front and back video with the peaks and everything. And then I ended up lining up. At the end, I line up all the peaks all together because I felt like that's how it looked best, was all in line. But I'm not throwing away this idea with the peaks out front. I think I'm going to do it on another build, just not this one. And I think I'm going to do it a little bit differently. So, but you know, you guys know me already, probably. If you watch my channel, you know me. I'm very into roofing and weird roofing shapes and trying to make funny things out of roofs. It's kind of a thing. It's a bit of a thing. I'm into shapes and patterns. It's a thing. And I did a little, I did the undo redo method for the interior furnish so that we would take less time on it. And I did a little thing where I put blue banners all around, all over the place. And the reason that I did that is I used the highest ceilings we had. I figured, you know, a building, an old theater building built in the early 1900s, I figured would have pretty high ceilings. So I used the highest ceilings we had without going 2 floors. Thought about it. Did think about going 2 floors, but I thought it was better with the super high ceilings. But because we had really high ceilings, I felt like, I don't know, like they needed something up at the top. So I used those blue banners, and they come from Seasons. And, you know, I did the trailer review, the Seasons trailer review, and I got awesome reviews for that. So thank you all for like all the people that watched and gave me awesome feedback on that. But, you know, when I did that review, I did it on build and buy items in The Sims. And I thought the stuff looked good, but I'm finding that since I'm building with Seasons, I'm actually using the stuff from Seasons a lot more than I anticipated. Like there's a lot of good decor items in Seasons that are making their way into my build, different things that are making their way into the builds. And yeah, I'm really kind of liking that. I'm liking discovering a lot of the different things in Seasons, and I'm enjoying the weather even more than I expected. I wasn't sure how I would feel about it from like a photographic perspective. Y'all that watch me, you know that I'm a photographer, right? So I want to do a decent job photographing my builds and my Sims with them and all of that. And sometimes the Seasons are a pain in the butt. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes they are if I'm trying to photograph a build. And you know, I want it for promoting my build on the gallery. I usually don't want gray, cloudy ick. You know what I mean? So sometimes it's a bit of a challenge, and we have the weather machine, and sometimes that helps and sometimes it doesn't. But God, I'm loving some of the stuff. I ran into a blizzard on my Let's Play. It was fabulous. I mean, it was hard, which made it fabulous, you know. And I ran into a thunderstorm, both when I was doing cinematics for this build and when I was doing them for a friend of mine. I was playing with, you guys have seen it. If you've seen the photo challenge, you probably saw that I did cinematics for a friend of mine's build as well, and I did that in a thunderstorm too. And so yeah, anyway, I end up kind of going house on cinematics at the end of this. We've got some screenshots, and then I sort of go off on cinematics because I think I ended up with a thunderstorm and then a nighttime cinematic and then a sunny daytime cinematic or something, I think is what I ended up with. So yeah, I just couldn't help myself. I love cinematics and screenshots. I can't help it. So all that said, I kind of digressed into screenshots and everything, but my purpose was to mention Seasons, to talk about Seasons, and also specifically to give a shout out and a thank you to my friend Mena Buchner, because Mena is the one who gifted me Seasons for my birthday last month. So I am enjoying Seasons because of her, and I already told her she made my Let's Play better. It hasn't come out yet, but for those of you watching, if you're paying attention, there's going to be a blizzard that our Katarina has to live through. So if you're interested in Let's Plays, we run into a blizzard, and that's my first time seeing snow in the game. And so, yeah, that and then running into the thunderstorm while I was doing the cinematics for this, I'm loving it. Totally loving it. So anyway, that kind of brings us towards the end of our little Avant Garde movie house, movie theater turned movie house. And so I'm hoping you like this little build and like the video. And if you do, please don't forget to hit like before you head out of here. And if you're not yet subscribed to the channel, do hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit the bell if you are subscribed or if you're subscribing for the first time. I'm hearing lately that some of my followers are not getting the announcements when I put out videos. So the only thing I've been telling people is hit the bell, and fingers crossed and hope it works. Apparently YouTube has some issues now and then, but you know, fingers crossed. But yeah, so make sure you do hit the little bell, and I think that's it for now. Thank you so much for joining me today and spending the time with me. I appreciate it, and I hope to see you back again sometime. Bye now.